Hey guys, thanks for tuning us in for this 9th episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests in this episode are new country artist Dylan Gerard, actress Peri Gilpin, creator of Comedy Central Art Bell, and stuntman and actor and friend of the show Christian Kane. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, a comment, or feedback, and share it with your friends. Our first guest is new country artist Dylan Gerard. You might remember him from his time on Season 13 of The Voice. We're going to talk about his latest single and how timely its message is today. Dylan, first off, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Hey, thank you guys for taking the time to have me on the show. I appreciate it.
And for you, the single that is out and about, for you to get that out on the airwaves, what was the feeling like the first time you heard that as you turned a radio station on? What was that feeling like first time hearing it?
Man, it was honestly, it's been crazy. It's been surreal. It's been amazing, humbling, all those things. Just to have like a year and a half's worth of work and waiting and recording to just come to fruition and just to hear it and to like, I mean, it's kind of corny, but like I think the first time that I heard it, I was riding along with my mom and dad. We were just going to like a little family dinner type thing. And it was a really cool moment because it is a song. It's like, it's about, where I grew up, how I grew up, nostalgic roots. And so it just kind of felt really kind of full circle, that's, you write it about your family and where you're from. And then you get to ride in the car and listen to it with your parents. And it was really cool. It was really a really great moment for me.
You wrote the song for moments like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like nowadays, I was talking with somebody, and nowadays those moments are they feel like they're, I guess, more than they usually are, just because with quarantine and just kind of having a lot more time on your hands, it's easy now to spend it with your family and to spend it in those moments, just kind of reminiscing and just being there for each other and just kind of getting back to those, quote unquote, simple things. So it's been really nice.
And for you to get that feedback, like you mentioned, we're all going through this craziness together, separately, in
right.
However you want to put that. But for you to be able to inspire, to put a smile on somebody's face, especially when everything else is so heavy.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I would hope for, at least when I wrote the song. Those are the kind of moments that you want. You want to make or help people feel, what you felt, writing it, living it, just all that stuff. I mean, I was riding in the car, I was listening to Bob Seger yesterday, and I was just like, man, I just hope one day that somebody feels about my music the way that I feel about, like, Bob Seger's music, or about, Brooks and Dunn, or Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, like that kind of stuff. Just that it would, connect with somebody in some way at some point and mean something to them. So, yeah, I mean, it's you write them and you just kind of hope that they mean something to people.
Now, Dylan, who were your earliest musical influences that brought you the love of music? Who inspired you first?
I'd probably say some of like the earliest recollections I have of like picking up the guitar and wanting to learn songs from other artists. There are people like Willie Nelson, and like the Eagles were really big for me in high school when I was learning to sing and play the guitar, and just knowing that I probably would never master the solo at the end of like Hotel California or something. But no, I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock and classic country, and then 90s country, because I'm an '88 baby, so a lot of that kind of stuff on the radio. Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Trisha Yearwood. My mom would always listen to Trisha Yearwood, and in that same token, like Garth Brooks and all them. So I mean, it's a wide range, but those are just kind of like some of my musical influences when it comes to country.
Now, during the downtime, the separation time that we've all been going through, has there been anything that you've been trying to tweak about maybe instrumentation, vocals, anything that you've been putting extra emphasis on?
I try and play the guitar a little more. I'm more of a rhythm player, and I think I just kind of know that. I've tried to get better here and there throughout the years, but my fingers don't typically work the way that I would want them to. But no, between that and just kind of just trying to hone in on like some writing, just kind of going back and listening to other songs and just kind of trying to see like what worked for those songs, some of the ideas that they explored, and the way that you word things, and just all that stuff. I mean, I've tried to hone in a little more on that. And then vocals, honestly, the vocals it's been different for me because I was used to singing so much beforehand that I was always trying to save my voice when I wasn't doing shows or gigs or anything. And now I have no reason to save my voice. So, you can explore a little more vocally, or at least in my case. So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like a combination of all those things.
And you talked about the process of going back and finalizing some ideas and thoughts from before. What is the most challenging part of the writing process? Is it the formulation of the ideas? Is it maybe finally putting it into something, finally agreeing that okay, it's done?
I mean, it's all those things. It's just a matter of like which one at what time. I mean, sometimes the idea hits you immediately, and then it's like, all right, the hard part is finding the melody. And then other times you have a really cool melody, but like you just want to find the right idea that fits it, and you don't want to. For me, it comes down to like, I don't want to waste a good melody on a decent idea. I want to try and find the good idea that fits with the melody, and then the instrumentation and all that stuff. I have some ideas here and there, but for the most part, I lean on, other musicians and producers and stuff like that to take that song and kind of like explore areas that I would not necessarily think to explore. I mean, the majority of the time I write a song on an acoustic guitar, and then what you hear, the final product, is a lot of other people's ideas and hands and their abilities. And so, I mean, that's where like I know I am not like that kind of musician that takes it from start to finish by themselves. I very much so lean on my community and my friends and those producers and the people that have a lot of experience doing it. So it's that finished product is it's more than me. It's a lot of people, and so I mean I'm grateful to all those people that helped finish it up and make it what it is, because I couldn't do it on my own. I know that.
That's right. And again, Dylan, the new single, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can find out more information about the single, where they can download it, and also social media wise, upcoming events, tour dates, whenever that happens as well. Right.
So I think probably the easiest thing would just be DylanGerardMusic.com. And then from there, you have links to social media like Instagram, which is just at Dylan Gerard, Facebook, Dylan Gerard Music, and then Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all that stuff, just Dylan Gerard. That's me. And then September 14th, like right now, Simple Things is just out the radio, so if you want to hear it, call in, request it, listen for it, but it comes out digitally, streaming platforms, stuff like that, on September 14th.
All right. Well, Dylan, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and hopefully you can catch up again real soon.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron. I appreciate it. You guys, too.
For more information, please visit DylanGerardMusic.com. Next up, I had the chance to visit with Peri Gilpin, who you probably remember as Roz from Frasier. She's in a new digital short series on YouTube. And first off, Peri, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Of course, Cameron. Nice to be here.
Now, Peri, tell us the new web series and how times have changed. Got a 6-episode digital short series, and tell our listeners kind of about the new concept.
Well, it is a web series, and the episodes are about 3 to 5 or 6 minutes long. They're short, and you can watch the whole series in like 25 minutes. But a lot happens, a lot is packed into these episodes, and it's very funny, and it's got a big heart, this show. It's about my friends have a company called Five Sisters Productions, and there's 5 sisters. 2 of them are old friends of mine, and they've told me stories about their mom and dad, really funny stories for years. And so when their mom and dad retired, they moved out to L.A. to be with all their 5 daughters, and the dad, Roger, who started his career in acting again. Like he went for it, and he started auditioning, and he actually got a lot of parts, but they were all like, adult diaper wearers or like cadavers or things that old people wind up playing, and he sort of was he felt like there's more, there's more that old people do, and there's more to elderly people's lives, and so that's sort of what he wants to say to the world, and it's very funny because he's right.
And how have you seen ageism as your career has progressed? Have you noticed it before, or did this pull the wool back from over your eyes?
Well, yeah, I think the thing with Roger Burton, who plays Harry in this, is a lot of times when there's a lot of actors that are age gracefully and continue working. It is harder for women because I think that it's about how we look a lot of times. I was never an ingenue, so I feel like I can just probably work all my life at different things, and I just don't think there's a lot of roles for women that are like in the mid-years. I think there's youthful roles, and then there's older roles, and then the middle years kind of get lost. But for men, I think they can go all the way through. I just think the hard part for Harry is that he is starting out at 80 years old, but he's a great actor, and he's a good sport, and he's on time, and he's, ethical, and he's doing everything right. He has a great business ethic, but he just wants better roles, and they're just not out there.
And Peri, how much has media and doing shows, how much has it changed with technology? I mean, who would have believed doing a web series like this whenever you first started, right?
Yeah, it has, but I have to say my husband is an artist. He's a painter, and his paintings often tell a story, does narrative paintings, and he talks about how, telling a story in one frame, so it can be done. It's been done a lot, and this is just a way to explore that. And I think they do a great job because you can expand on it, but they get their point in, and it's also very funny. I think they really wrote a funny script about this, and they really capture our industry, and they capture exactly what happens to a script as well as to roles, and all the commercials and different things that you see older actors doing about all their bodily problems and things like that. And it's funny, but when you think about it, when you need somebody to be smart, or when you need wisdom, or when you need advice, don't you always think of going to maybe the oldest person there's not a lot of those roles.
That's right. And again, the new web series, Old Guy, find it on YouTube. And Peri, always want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can keep up with everything else you've got going on as well.
I'm on Twitter. I think it's Gilpin Peri, and then at Gilpin Peri on Twitter, and then on Instagram is Peri.Gilpin.
Well, Peri, always great to visit with you, ma'am. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Thank you. I love that you said ma'am. That is so sweet. That's so Oklahoma. Awesome.
You can keep up with her on Instagram, Peri.Gilpin, and on Twitter, @GilpinPeri. Up next is Art Bell, who was tasked with building Comedy Central from the ground up. He's releasing a new book on September 15th entitled Constant Comedy: How I Started Comedy Central and Lost My Sense of Humor. Creator of Comedy Central, chief executive over at HBO for many years, got a new book, Comedy Central. The book, sorry about that, Constant Comedy, is available and coming up in the coming weeks. Is that right, Art?
That's right. It's publishing the 15th. Actually, the full name of the book is Constant Comedy: How I Started Comedy Central and Lost My Sense of Humor.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess that's maybe one thing that folks don't think about. They watch a comedy network and they think everything's fun and games, but it's not necessarily that way, is it, Art?
Well, the comedy business is a tough business. And when I first got into it, I didn't know much about the comedy business. And I was surrounded by people who did. That was a pretty crazy time for me. And that's one of the things I talk about in my memoir. But starting a comedy network, or starting any network, or starting anything at all, is, as you can imagine, just a very difficult, crazy, and sometimes frightening undertaking. You're trying to overcome so many problems that you didn't foresee, and you really want the thing to keep working. And it's like they keep rolling big boulders at you that you got to dodge or do something with. So that's why the subtitle is I Lost My Sense of Humor. It was hard.
And when people, obviously, everybody expects everything to be funny all the time, and everybody's got their own feedback for their feedback. What was the hardest part in getting the feedback from others and then trying to make decisions based upon that?
Feedback was easy to get, believe me. You put a channel on, you're hearing from the press, you're hearing from the audience, you're hearing from your mother, okay? Everybody's talking about it, about whether it's, it's not funny enough, who's that guy, get that guy off of there. Everybody will give you advice. So the feedback that you have to consider is you have to actually choose what feedback you're going to act on. And we had to do that very early on. Something that came up from one of my co-executives at HBO as we started was, you know what, you put a little more stand-up on, because we didn't have as much stand-up on. So we had very little, actually. He said, put a little more stand-up on. He said, that always gets me to look up when I'm watching television. So we did that. And, again, you take the feedback, you do what you can, you make the adjustments, you never say it's over. You always say, how do I solve the problem? How do I make it better?
And how hard is it to take your own person out of the equation as well whenever making those decisions? I mean, obviously, we all have our heart on certain things. How hard is it to get your heart out of making some decisions sometimes?
Well, as a programmer, you're really trying to figure out how to solve your programming problems. For example, at one point we were looking for a talk show or a panel show. Why? Because we thought that would fill out the comedy network in a nice way, that people could see other people talking in a comedic way. So we started looking around, and then we got a pitch from Bill Maher, who said he wanted to do a talk show. He explained how he wanted to do it, and we bought it. So that's really, it's a little more reason than just, I love that, let's put it on. So, but I will say this, as we put classic comedy on, I had a lot to say about that. I loved Get Smart. I was dying to get that on the network. That was written by Mel Brooks and Buck Henry. Classic comedy, real huge impact on the culture, and I wanted it on, and I made a big stand on that, and we did get it on.
And I know that there were folks out there that didn't want to see success, didn't expect success, and to rise above in spite of the negatives, the critics, and all that. Obviously, that's something that anybody going into a new venture has to learn as well.
That's right. Otherwise, a new venture doesn't show up. There's going to be more people telling you it's a terrible idea than there are going to be patting you on the back saying, when do we start? And in my case, almost everybody said it was a terrible idea, including the head of programming at HBO, who told me nobody needs a 24-hour comedy channel. Nobody would watch it. There's too many channels out there already. Comedians would never be on it. She just went on, and she ended with, and you don't know anything about television anyway. So I walked out of there kind of a little down, but you know what? I knew she was wrong. I knew she was wrong, and I think that's what you have to do as you're trying to start something. You have to really hold the idea and hold the concept so close that nobody can knock you off of it. Nobody can knock you off of it until you try it. I mean, and then when you try it, you got other issues. But that's how you hold on to these things.
And you talk about, obviously, folks having ideas, wanting to start new ventures. And obviously, there are certain things that it takes to become a good entrepreneur. And what are some of the biggest traits that you see in a good entrepreneur in the first place?
Well, there's two things I think about all the time. One is passion and one is vision. The passion in my case was I loved comedy and I wanted to see a comedy network. And when I say passion, I was a comedy geek from the time I was 5. I just loved it. So I showed up with the passion. The vision is really about thinking what the world would look like and how it would be impacted by your idea or your product when it's successful. So you're not looking 6 months down the road. You're looking at 5 to 10 years down the road. And you're saying, man, what would it be like if there were a comedy network in the world? Well, we would be attracting all the best comedians. We would have the best writers coming to us with ideas. We would have innovative comedy that would never be put on the air anywhere else coming to us. We would be the center of the comedy universe. And that's how I talked to myself about it. And that's how I explained it to people. Because that's what you have to do to get people to believe in your idea. You have to say, look, when this is successful, it's going to change the world. And we did. Comedy became pretty quickly, a part of pop culture. And I think nobody would argue with the fact that comedy has been a part of the culture now for many, many years.
That's right.
Comedy Central.
That's right. And again, the new book, Constant Comedy, How I Started Comedy Central and Lost My Sense of Humor by Art Bell, available the 15th. And Art, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can find out more about the book and everything else you've got going on as well, sir.
Okay, great. Well, it's available the 15th, but you can pre-order it on Amazon now, so it'll show up in your hands on the 15th. You can go to artbellwriter.com, which is my website, where I have lots of information about the book and me, or you can go to Art Bell Author, which is my author page on Facebook.
All right. Well, Art, it has been great to visit with you. I hope you have a great rest of your week, sir.
Thank you. You too.
For more information, visit artbellwriter.com. And our final guest is actor Christian Kane, who I've been following since he was on Leverage with Timothy Hutton, Aldous Hodge, and others. You might have also seen him in The Librarians with Rebecca Romaine and Noah Wiley. This visit coincided with the release of a new series, Almost Paradise, which aired on WGN America. All right, guys, promised you another very special guest, and man, I've been a fan of him, a true fan of him, since Leverage was my big introduction into Christian Kane. Christian on the line with us. First off, Christian, again, thanks for your time, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. It's nice kind of being home.
Yeah, you actually have some Oklahoma ties. I was telling our afternoon guy, you have some Sooner ties, right?
Oh, I'm big time Sooner, man. I grew up back and forth from Texas and Oklahoma most of my life, and landed in Norman, Oklahoma, and went to high school there, and then went on to go to the University of Oklahoma, man. So that was a joy. I was there for about 4 years, and so I'm Sooner born, Sooner bred. Come on.
And on the side of entertainment, man, you've spread across all gamuts. I mean, you've done stunt work, you've done you've got a band that you've been doing music with, and obviously the acting. And the new series Almost Paradise is going to debut on March 30th on WGN America. And tell us a little bit, if folks haven't had the chance to see the trailer, the previews, and all that, a little bit about Almost Paradise.
Well, it's very fun for me. I play an ex-DEA agent, and he suffers from hypertension. He used to be the best in the business, but the government made him retire because of health problems. And so he goes out to a little island in the Philippines that he traveled to during his earlier escapades. He found this little beach property, and bought it and went there to retire just to take it easy. And when he goes back, it's been 13 years, and resorts have sprung up, and there's a lot of crime there, international crime that actually happens in the Philippines. And he went there to just breathe easy, and as soon as he hits the ground, he's off and running, and they suck him back in. The local police, they do a little extracurricular work to make sure that he works for them, and it's just he can't relax. The guy can't catch a break, but it's a lot of fun. It's from same producer that I've worked with for 13 years now, Dean Devlin, who did Leverage, who did The Librarians. You guys may know him more from he did Independence Day, Godzilla, The Patriot with Mel Gibson, and so he's all action, man, and it's so much fun to be able to work for this guy for as long as I have in these roles that he's given me.
And you can't really you're kind of in the active roles for the most part anyway, so it's kind of your comfort zone, right?
It is, you know what I mean. As long as I get to say, it's funny because usually what I do is I say a couple Stallone lines and then punch some people. That's kind of what he writes to me. This one's a little bit different, man. There's a lot of emotion. Obviously, the comedy aspect is still there. You get to laugh, but you also get to cry, and it's pretty. It's a new role for me. You know what I mean? This guy wears his heart on his sleeve, where other people that I've played really kind of covered it up. But this guy's out there with his, and the emotions are very high for him. So it was a fun role. I still get to punch people and kick people, but I also get to tug on the heartstrings, and so it was very fun for me to play this role.
And at the time we're at right now, Christian, obviously there's so much heaviness in the world. You talked about being able to bring the comedy, bring the action, and it also the beautiful locale. I mean, you kind of get to take people maybe a little bit out of their regular everyday doldrums, if you will, with the new show.
Well, and that's kind of what we're looking for, and we were talking about doing some publicity for the show, and I was like, I don't know if right now is the time. But then again, entertainment's always saved us, you know what I mean? We had to have somewhere to go. And so, that's what I want to tell people is that we're home anyway, all of us. So if you want to take a quick vacation, man, there's never been an American series that has filmed in the Philippines. A lot of people have never seen the Philippines. A lot of us are familiar with Japan and Korea and China and stuff like that because we've seen movies over there. But no one's ever really shown the Philippines and all the color and the culture and everything like that. So since we're home anyway, man, I invite you to take a little vacation, man. You get to go to the Philippines. You get to see this unbelievable color that you've never seen before because it really is different than most of Southeast Asia. And, I just got back a week and a half ago, so, and I was there for 5 months, and I found, food, color, and culture there that I've never seen before in my life, and I've been fortunate enough to travel the world. So, sit back, make your dinner, and take a little trip with us, man. We get to fight the bad guys for you, and it's really honestly like being on vacation. So, that's what I invite people to do. Thank you for that.
And Christian, you've been on several different series, and what is the lag time in building camaraderie on a normal basis, and kind of how was the new series? How was that coming together?
Well, that's a great question. Most people don't ask that. I like that question because that's very important in a TV series, and I think that's why so many people agreed with us on Leverage. You know what I mean? I think that at that time we were going through some economical problems in the world, and so people kind of did what I said just now. They sat back and they let us throw the punches to the big guys that were kind of bullying America at the time. So I think that's why it was important. But the main thing that you just touched on was the camaraderie. More than that, the family. On Leverage, we were a family. We'd work 14-hour days, and then we'd get off. Everybody thinks we work like 3 hours and go home. We work 14-hour days, and then spend the next 3 hours at a restaurant having dinner and a little bit of wine, talking about the day. And that's what made us a family. We're all still very close on Leverage. We're all still very good friends. And the same thing I found happened with Almost Paradise. We stepped on set. All of us became really close. We were thrown onto an island, a very small island, and we're working every day, and then we'd all go home to the hotel, and we'd have dinner and have a couple of drinks and talk about the day and talk about what's to come and tomorrow's work, You don't usually get that. Usually everybody goes home and lives their own life, but we were kind of forced to do that. And we built this family, this small family over there in the Philippines. Me and Sam Rochelle and Articuna and Noni, the four actors, we built this little family that you just, and it shows on screen. And I'm a big fan of Garth Brooks. Everybody knows that. And I always quote him. And I don't know if I'm going to quote him correctly, but I'll quote this. He said, no matter where you are, no matter if you had, no matter where you were in the crowd, no matter if you had front row seats, no matter if you had a backstage pass, I'm still the one having the most fun. And that's Garth Brooks, and that's why he was so successful. He was having so much fun, so it bled out into the crowd. That's exactly what we're doing, so I think it bleeds out into the TV room. It worked on Leverage, so we said let's keep that formula for Almost Paradise.
And a lot of folks, like you mentioned, don't get the opportunity to travel to places like the Philippines and some of the other places that you've been able to film. And how cool is it for you to be able to maybe do a little history, geography lesson and show folks what else, the other beauties there are in the world?
Yeah, it's the Lord has blessed me. I've been I was still the 14-year-old kid that got down beside his bed and prayed all this stuff would happen. So never knew it would happen at this level. I'm very fortunate. A lot of it is hard work, but just to see the world, to travel the world like I've traveled, to do stuff that they pay me for is pretty incredible, man. And I've seen 10 lifetimes worth of stuff, man, and it's just and it's amazing. And I encourage people once this is all over to get out there and go see it, especially from Oklahoma, man. We get comfortable in Oklahoma. My mom and my dad, you know what I mean? It's like, get out there and see some stuff, because every single place I go, there's just, like I said, there's new colors, and definitely for me, I'm a foodie, so new food and stuff like that, and you got to get out there. But if you can't, which nobody can right now, like I said, take a trip with us. We'll take you to the Philippines for about 10 weeks, and it's a really, really fun ride.
And you talked about being around the world and seeing different things. And one thing I want to ask you is, we always hear the negatives. You don't get to hear a lot of the positives. They don't make headlines. But
right.
the humanity and the love and the respect for one another, that's worldwide, right?
It is. It's in different forms, in different shapes, but it is worldwide. Like I went out there and worked with this crew in the Philippines, and they just became family, man. It was just so unbelievable. The people that were out there. I've been to South America. It was the same thing, I mean, they're no one's the same as us, and we're not the same as them. It depends on where you go in the world, but everyone is looking out for their fellow man. I know that although the news we report, it looks like, there's people that are just, but it's not like that, man. The world is a great place. It's just got a couple of bad people.
That's right. And Christian, as you talk about going and traveling all over the world that you've done, I know each and every opportunity that we have to interact with folks of a different culture, of a different area of the world, makes changes in our lives. What do you see different about yourself now as opposed to the beginning of the filming there in the Philippines?
I came in blind. I've been to the Philippines once. I actually went on a vacation. A friend of mine was over there filming, and they got done, and they were like, well, come out and we'll go to Boracay, very beautiful island. So I went there. So I sort of knew a little bit about it, but not too much. But, I went in blind, and I was the only American there. The rest of the cast is Filipino. The whole crew is Filipino. There was a director that came out, my buddy Mark Roskin, who directed me a lot in Leverage. He came out and directed the first two, and then he left. And I was there by myself. And I tell you, I never felt more at home. And I got to be honest with you, man. I just got back a week and a half ago. I actually felt safer in the Philippines than I did when I landed in Los Angeles. It was pretty incredible, because early on, I guess, because it had hit in China, this whole thing, they were taking our temperature walking into the hotel, and then if we went to a restaurant, they would take our temperature again. It seemed like that hotel on a small island was more prepared than we were, and rightly so. But we're going to figure this out, man. We're going to figure all this stuff out.
That is right. And again, the first episode is going to debut March 30th on WGN America. And Christian, if folks want to keep up with, or if they want to delve themselves into the role of a Caniac, how would they do that?
Well, you can go to my Twitter handle, which is ChristianKane01. That's on Twitter. I'm being pretty. Rebecca Romaine, who's a friend of mine that did the Librarians with a couple couple of years ago, she forced me on Instagram, and now that's become where I do a lot of my stuff. So that's Christian Kane 1. I only have one Twitter and one Instagram. All these people that are getting duped by these fake people out there, it's not real. I only have one, Christian Kane 01 on Twitter, and then Christian Kane 1 on Instagram. And I've been pretty active on Instagram, like I said, because there's just so many pictures that I took out there that some of them I can't release because it would give away stuff. But as the episodes go on, we'll be doing that. And we'll also be doing a live tweet. Me and Dean Devlin and Sam Rochelle, my co-star on the show, we're going to be doing a live tweet like we used to do on Leverage while we were while the episode is actually airing. So that's always fun because I get immediate feedback from my friends and family and the fans and stuff like that. And so that's fun. So if you guys want to join that would be fantastic.
All right. Well, Christian, it is always great to visit with you. Hopefully we don't have to wait a couple of years till we get the chance to visit again. Looking forward to Almost Paradise coming up on March 30th. And again, Christian, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. It was nice to, I'm in Los Angeles right now, but it's very nice for you to bring me home for a second.
They're still in talks for a possible season 2, although it definitely will not be on WGN. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. And if you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, you can find me on Instagram, aka_Cameron, on Twitter @Cameron Dole, on my Facebook page @Cameron Dole Altus. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, feel free to click the support tab and follow the instructions. We'll see you for episode 10 real soon.